Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family. And we are so delighted that you've welcomed us into your home. It's Monday. We would love to hear from you. Today, we're taking questions from you, our viewers. So if you're watching, you know it's a live broadcast. Give us a jingle at 1-800-221-9460. If you are calling and you are outside North America, please reach us at area code 205-271-2980. And you can always send us an email with a question or a comment to jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and check us out on Facebook. And the question for the day is this: how may we cultivate or develop the great virtue of humility to overcome the deadly sin of pride?
Perfect question for the season of Lent.
Yes.
And so one of the people that could speak to this and so much more is Father Joseph, who brings his reflection for the third Sunday of Lent. Father Joseph, share with us.
Hello, family. In the readings for the third Sunday of Lent, we hear the list of the 10 Commandments, also known as the Decalogue. The commandments form the framework for our moral lives. Not to observe the commandments is to choose our ultimate destruction, because God Himself has told us that these are grave obligations. We cannot pick and choose the commandments we want to keep, and there is no excuse to reject them, even if everyone else does. But how can we possibly do this? We can only be faithful with God's grace, which is given to us in abundance. In every generation, Jesus calls people to be saints, including you and me. This does not mean that we are called to be unhappy. On the contrary, living in virtue ensures our happiness. Our natural state is in communion with God, and we are happiest when we are living in accordance with His will. The love of God and the love of neighbor is a summary of the 10 Commandments. As we journey through Lent, may Jesus help us to live those 10 Commandments fully in our lives and be joyful witnesses so that others may also find the joy of Jesus. May God bless you.
For an ebook that features weekly Lenten reflections from Father Joseph, please visit ewtn.com/Lent.
Well, we hope and pray you are having a blessed Lent, loving the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and loving your neighbor as yourself, dying to ourselves that we could live more for Jesus and less of us. More of Jesus, less of us. And we know that EWTN did a great, beautiful, outstanding coverage of Pope Francis in Iraq. Outstanding.
Viewers can re-watch the live streamed events on EWTN's Facebook page. You can also go to www.facebook.com/EWTN online. Joy, yes. I mean, the first time a pope has gone to the great nation of Iraq. And I think it was postponed for a time. The Pope wanted to get there, Pope Francis, for the last year or so, but COVID and other things. And finally, he goes to this nation at this period of time, the last 10 years or more, so war-torn, ISIS tearing up that land. Hundreds, I think it's 300 churches bombed. So many people losing their lives, minorities in that nation terrorized and killed and maimed, and women raped, the Yazidi, we can go on and on and on. But here comes a man of peace. It was a day to be proud to be Catholic. And I think the Holy Father was just perfect for the time, not denying any of the atrocities that take place, but encouraging the church, calling all the people there, whatever religious group, to the sacredness and dignity of every human being, that the minority should have the same rights as the people, I think it's the Shiite people, the main party there. And it was wonderful. A man of peace, proclaiming peace and calling all people to the one true God, and that they're all children of Abraham. We can go on and on about it, but what a great pilgrimage that he made there.
Well, it was outstanding to watch and to be united with our brothers and sisters throughout the world, as only EWTN can do. And then also, I know Joan's going to speak to us later in the end of our show today too, so you don't want to miss that. But it unites our hearts, especially during Lent. It was EWTN did an outstanding job. So
we'll talk
thank
more
God
about
for
it,
that.
I think, in relationship to the question of the day. How may we cultivate or develop the great virtue of humility to overcome the deadly sin of pride? Give us a call, 1-800-221-9460, or email us, and we want you to be part of this Lenten conversation of the way of humility versus the way of pride. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, remember, we're taking questions from you, our viewers, today. If you're watching, it's Monday. Please give us a jingle at 1-800-221-9460. If you are calling outside North America, you can reach us at area code 205-271-2980. You can always send us an email with a question or a comment to Jim and Joy at ytsync-en.com, and check us out on Facebook. Now, the great question for the day is this: how may we cultivate or develop the great virtue of humility to overcome the deadly sin of pride?
So what do you know about that? How is God teaching you about the way of humility? It could be circumstances, situations, time passing by, or stations of the cross, the sorrowful mysteries. How are you learning the way of humility? We want you to call us. We want you to be a part of the show.
Well, we have Brandon McGinley on the phone, and Brandon's been on our show before. He is the co-author of It Is Right and Just with Scott Hahn. He's also the editor of The Joys of the Challenges of Family Life, and both these books are available at ewtnrc.com. You could go to his website, brandonmcginley.com, and nothing's going to teach you more humility other than living in a family. You learn a lot. Right. Well, Brandon, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy.
Yeah, it's great to speak with you.
Well, Brandon, your thoughts on the way of humility to overcome the deadly sin of pride. We had one comment from somebody on Facebook, and that said that they don't like it being called the deadly sin of pride, but that's been historically true throughout the ages, and it certainly is true in humanity. How do we focus on the way of humility? How do we acquire greater humility? Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm so glad that Joy mentioned family life as part of it, because not much builds humility more than seeing the weird ways your kids decide to act up during Mass, or what they will do or won't do for you while other people are watching, and it's very it can certainly be mortifying in both the sense of embarrassing and in the sense of reminding us that ultimately we are mortal, and we depend for everything good in our life on God. And so, and I think the thing I was thinking about as I was thinking about how to respond to this question, it goes in really well with family life, is so much about the way the world is today involves us seeking and doing everything we can to have as much control as possible. And there's a lot of pride in that, the idea that we can and should have complete control over everything in our life. But of course, that's not the way it works. Of course, things happen that are beyond our control. Of course, ultimately, we are dependent on God's goodness and God's providence. And family life is a great example of how you cannot be in control all the time. It's just not possible.
So hopefully he'll be back on with us soon. I love what he was saying already in terms of family, the importance of family and learning the way, whether you want it or not, of humility in the midst of family, with successes and failures, embarrassments, and pressing into the Lord through those times. I don't know how much humility you learn if you're not with another person.
Right.
And I tell you, there are some times that I feel so close to the Lord, and I might do the Stations of the Cross, the sorrowful mysteries, whatever it might be, and I feel like I'm in such union with God. And then all of a sudden in the family, even with you sometimes, it's not your fault. All of a sudden you say something, it's just, I can't believe how unhumble I am. Maybe you can. And it's kind of like, I thought I was doing so well. But we have to have other human beings in our lives. If we know other human beings, it was just me, then I'd be really spiritual. And so the aid and the help of other people through their strengths and their weaknesses. And if you can't walk the way of humility with at least one other person, are you really walking in the way at all? And so, and then there are the special grace people that you call them, right? Special grace people.
EGPs, extra grace people.
Yeah. And they just kind of pop up, or they don't kind of quite mix with your personality, or maybe it's some difficulties that they really do have that are irritating, you know? But it's like the Lord doesn't take them away, and they're there, and you got to see other ways to love them. And
what God does, especially in relationships, is one of the things he does if a person comes into your life as an extra grace person, or maybe a child is going through a phase and a stage that is not so loving, or maybe your spouse, or maybe you, dare say it, but it could be you. And most times it is. That's why, especially during this season of Lent, where the catechumens are coming through and they're being scrutinized, that you too should cry out to God to say, Lord, scrutinize me. Examine me, Lord. Where are my ways where I'm being judgmental or critical, or I'm being impatient and I'm not being kind and I'm not being loving, I'm not being tender. I mean, those are just things to work on in marriage, in relationships with your children, with your in-laws. I mean, I can remember many a time our children, through their teenage years, I thought, I had this motherhood thing locked in. We were good. I was good. And then they would disobey me, intentionally hurt me. They would disobey God. There were consequences to their actions. There's pride as a family that you have to...
And it goes back to what Brandon's saying, too, not to cut you off, but it's like control.
Not
that you're even trying to control it, but you think, if I just do this right and say it right, and if I provide everything that's needed, everything will be right. Wrong. Sometimes it turns out right, sometimes it doesn't. And again, it's like the Holy Trinity with Adam and Eve. It's kind of like, well, what did we do wrong? What could we have given them? No, they're not doing that. They gave them everything possible. But it's free will, and it's choice, and it's life. And we're in control of so little, except for ourselves. To some degree, by the grace of God, we can be in control. Joy, here's a comment.
Well, it says, a priest told my husband that humility can grow from cultivating generosity. And I've seen this in doing good for others when I'd rather not. When we embrace a position of joyful service, humility will begin to flow. And this is from Carrie on Facebook.
That's great.
And that is really true. Yeah. And in family life, in what you were sharing, I can remember, there's this old Yiddish proverb, and it says, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. And that is really true, because I can remember having conversations with God saying, I did this right, I did this right, I did this right. These were not the results that I should be receiving, as if like I was in control of anything. The grand illusion of life is that you think you are in control of something. And we are in control of no thing. The only thing we're in control of is our response to somebody, to be loving and nice. We have Kathy in New Mexico. Kathy, your question or your comment?
Oh, hello. Thank you so much. Yes,
I'm sorry we can't hear you, Kathy.
Oh, hello?
Yes.
Just a minute. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay. Yes, thank you for taking my call. Yes, for me, humility is giving up myself. Is giving up myself and following God's way. Because when I was following my way, and I heard a sister on EWTN say this before, when God was calling her to the convent, and she was resisting at first. She said life was so hard. And my life was hard when I was following my way and what I wanted, and when humility is the truth. And who is the truth? The truth is Jesus. And everything in Jesus is a wonderful thing. And the peace I have gotten. The peace. People think, oh, it's hard to be good in this world. No, it's hard to be bad in this world. Life is hard when one doesn't follow God's will. I have such peace and joy. Yes, I've had to do a lot of work to get there, and I'm still working on trying to give things up that I want, that he doesn't want for me. So, it's like an eternal bliss to go deeper into Christ and get out of the shallow water of myself.
Beautiful, beautifully stated,
Excellently
Kathy. Thank you
said.
so very, very much.
It's true.
Truth is about surrendering. Truth is about giving up. Humility is about this. And humility is about the truth.
Yes.
Jesus said, the truth will set you free. Desire the truth. But, sometimes maybe we don't want the truth.
Right.
But the truth will set us free so that we know who we are, so that we can become who we are in all of our strengths and limitations. And humility is not putting ourselves down. Humility is accepting all the strengths that we have, the beauty that we have. It's false humility to deny those things. And it's not usurping or taking things that aren't ours and making believe they are ours. Especially, as it says at the beginning, you will be like God. Well, they were already like God. Adam and Eve were like God. But that was the sin of temptation to pride. You will be like God. You will be the arbiter of that which is right and wrong. And this will delight God. And they were tempted into being the arbiters, being the judges. And that's rampant in our lives, some places in the church, in the world. And when we do that, then we have this dominion kind of outlook and so such a limited outlook, and we think that we have everything. And this is when tyranny and terrorism take place for other people because we think we're God. We're the judge of things. And so she's saying, no, just be simply who you are. My father always said, anytime we speak about humility, Jimmy boy, don't be too big for your britches. I wasn't quite sure what that meant, but I got to figure. After a while, I said, well, too big. I'm too big for the clothes that I have on. I'm too big for the way I think about myself, or too small, or just let who you are just be the right fit. And that's the problem. We're not at home with ourselves. But knowing God, looking at God, participating in the sacraments, being with people that will tell you the truth, give you true criticism in your life, helps you to not be too big, prideful for your britches.
Well, and I think just the human condition is to be full of pride. I mean, we're all sinners, and so when we go to confession, the first sin we should confess is probably pride, because therein hinges most of our other sins, right? We can think we're more than somebody else. Our opinion matters more than your opinion. My way is more correct. Or
we think far less of ourselves.
Right.
That's not humility. That's pridefulness.
Right. And not being truthful. And I think what Kathy said is true. It's not always fun to know the truth about yourself, to embrace your weaknesses, to say, you know what, I'm not very good at that task. These are my limits. I get myself. And so I need help. I need help with my staff. And I don't like to always admit that. Even with my children, were growing up, I needed to let them help me. Right? I need to let you help me. I don't do well with that. And I have to acknowledge that about myself, to say, I was raised, pull up your socks, dry your eyes, get out there, you can do it. And I believe that. But you know what? I can't do everything.
No, and we need other people.
I'll
tell you, here's another comment. Let's take this. We can cultivate humility when people offend us by always trying to assume the best of them, forgiving them and praying for them. Joseph on Facebook.
Excellent. That's a great comment. And, we as people, we need to be able to move in that and to love and to pray and to care and to say to each other, I need you. I get this about myself, but I need you. And I want you to help me. Can you help me?
And, this is the time of year we need to say that to people who may not want to forgive us back. Who don't want to be reconciled to us. Humility is, I simply want to forgive.
Yes.
I'm not changing any of the story or anything that was here that was bad. I want to be in relationship with you. And that's what the Pope did going to Iraq. He didn't deny the murder, the terrorism, the horror. And he said, I come as a man of peace. I come in the spirit of forgiveness. I call those to whom I am a father in the church in Iraq to forgive. Let us have another chance here together. That's what we need in the United States of America. He didn't go over there and cancel people or say we need a new genocide. He said, let's forgive one another, let's confess our sins, and let's go on as brothers and sisters in Christ. Joy?
We have Carolina from Louisiana on the phone. Caroline, your question or your comment?
Well, the comment is this. Jim and Joy, thank you for being and having a show such as this on EWTN. Love my EWTN, but my Jim and Joy show is special.
Thank you.
Bill and I have been married 60 years. Hey!
Yes,
Just because we're married
congratulations.
60 years, we don't know it all. Your show, with all of the young couples all the way up to whatever year they've been married, share with you, and we've learned a lot from your show. You have a great show. God bless. Please continue, and may you have happy, happy days filled with love, laugh, and joy.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Caroline. That was so sweet.
Well, we're just going to receive that and end on that note. So we're going to take a break at this time. Thank you for your participation, and we pray that this is a contribution to your holy season of Lent, that this Lenten season, no matter what's going on in your life, that God will take everything and turn it to his ends and turn it to his glory, that you might know truly in him what true humility is in Jesus Christ. We'll be right back. There's plenty more to come. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, before we wrap up today's show, we're going to go to Rome to check in with beautiful Joan Lewis. Now, Joan, what can you tell us about the Pope's trip to Iraq?
Well, greetings, Jim and Joy. Greetings from Rome. But I think people all over the world are very much impacted still by Pope Francis's jam-packed 3-day visit to Iraq, a very courageous and a historic visit. And Iraq, of course, is the land the birthplace of Abraham, the father of the 3 monotheistic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But Iraq is also a land ravaged by violence and conflict and terrorism. It's a land of modern-day martyrs, the martyrs including bishops, priests, deacons, and lay faithful. Now, I was blessed to get to know Iraq, mostly in the north, of course, several years ago on 2 separate visits, spending several weeks among the people, the Christians, of course, who are a distinct minority. But more than anything else, they have a great, vibrant, living faith. And these are people who know that from one day to the next, they could actually become the next martyrs. Now, on the 2nd day of his trip, the Holy Father went to Ur in southern Iraq. This, of course, is the birthplace of the prophet Abraham. And this was maybe certainly a highlight of his apostolic trip, because there was an interfaith meeting during which the Pope urged Iraq's Muslim and Christian leaders to join together, to put aside animosities and to work together for peace and unity in their country. Now, we also had a meeting with the top Shiite cleric, Ayatollah al-Sistani, and this was seen by many as a powerful message of peaceful coexistence. So, of course, we'll see. But words like fraternity, solidarity, tolerance, justice, and peace, we hear those all the time from the Pope, and they were very key to all of his messages, of course. But at the same time, he did not hesitate to denounce extremism and violence in the name of God. And here's the phrase I love. Francis said that when God asked Abraham to count the stars in the sky, and he promised the patriarch that his descendants would be as numerous, he saw us. Such beautiful words from Francis. Now, more than anything else, the Holy Father wanted to bring hope to Iraq. He wanted to plant seeds of hope in hearts and in places where it seems to have died or just withered. Now, Sunday, of course, was his last final day. He was in the northern part of Iraq, which I know the best, Mosul, Erbil, Karakosh, and other places. And this is where he said his final Mass. And listen to the words of one priest after Mass, after the events in Mosul. The pontiff leaves a scent of celebration that overcomes the stench of death left behind by the Islamic State. And the same priest said that the Pope's kiss of a wooden cross built with pieces of a church burnt down by the Islamic State was healing for so many. And it seems this is exactly what was happening with the words of all the Pope's speeches and homilies. So I guess we have to say Deo Gracias, thank you God for a trip. Welcome back, Pope Francis, and now back to you.
Joan, thanks so much for that clear and beautiful summary. And forgive one another. Love one another as I have loved you. Maybe that's exactly what the Lord is calling to you this season of Lent. God bless you and all of your loved ones. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.